Go fuck yourself.
Kia ora koutou katoa, this is my review for Mortal Kombat 11 on the PlayStation 4. Now for my review, I'm going to be focusing mainly on the gameplay and some of the online as well as the crypt, as I won't be talking much about the story because I feel like I'm not the right person to talk about it. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, I love the story and all the little nods and references in it, but as far as going in depth on the story, I feel there are better people on YouTube for talking about that, so I'm going to stay away from that and just focus on the gameplay, etc, etc. And I will say that out of all the Mortal Kombats, I definitely do get used to this one the best. I was able to get into it a lot easier than Mortal Kombat X, but how does it feel compared to Mortal Kombat 9, and even some of the 3D era and classic Mortal Kombat games? Because the one that I started out with was Mortal Kombat Trilogy. So, without any further ado, let's get right into it, and we will start off with the gameplay. Also, just in case you're wondering, none of my videos are censored, and this one is no exception, because none of my videos are monetized, so don't worry about any of the blood getting censored. Okay, let's get into it.
Our Cotton warriors are legendary.
Then why don't you flee, Earthrealmer?
The Shirai Ryu embrace danger.
Round one, fight.
So starting off straight away, I can say that I do like the movement a lot more in this game as opposed to Mortal Kombat X. And the reason why is because of the stamina gauge in Mortal Kombat X. For some reason, while they also had you do the run cancels during your block strings and combos, the one thing that really killed it for me was that you also consumed stamina when you did a backdash. This I did not like at all. Thankfully, the stamina gauge has been removed, as well as running. I know there are some players that will miss doing run cancels, but I personally don't mind having the run button taken out because it was tied to the stamina gauge in the last game, and I'm happy that both of them are gone. It actually feels less restrictive in my opinion, and again, I must stress, it is my opinion. But the offensive and defensive gauges really do help alleviate those movement issues, as I do like how that after blocking an attack you can immediately dash forward or dash backwards, consuming one of those gauges in order to give yourself some breathing room and to counter-attack. And also the offensive gauge, while you do have moves that enhance your moves normally, what I do like about it is that you can also have double enhancements in this game. For example, with Baraka's Chop Chop blades, he can do Chop Chop, enhance it to make it go even longer while you're still hammering the button to keep it going, and then you can tap it again to extend it even further, and the damage you get from this is pretty damn good. The same thing applies with Liu Kang's bicycle kick now that I think about it. Now this next one is a change I thought I wasn't going to like as much, but I ended up liking it a lot in the beta, and it's no different in the full release. And that's of course your super gauges. Now in this game, rather than needing to do combos or hitting an opponent during block to build the meter, you now have the meter recovering by itself. That was a little bit iffy at first, but I do like how this works, as you are going to be doing a lot of wake-up options and a lot of wake-up attacks using this meter. Now the meter doesn't recover too fast depending on what your settings are, but I do like how they balance this by having some of the moves be extremely punishable if you abuse it too much. And at the same time, you only have 2 slots for horizontal and 2 for the vertical. So while the meter still does recover by itself, you still do need to think about your approach and you need to be careful. And another thing I like about this game is how you have the addition of a short hop, which instantly reminded me of SNK games like King of Fighters and Fatal Fury. Those are pretty cool. Now you can only hop on the spot, but it is still pretty cool, and it is hilarious how you can actually hop in place to trick your opponent. I love doing it with Shao Kahn. It's actually very effective, surprisingly effective now that I think about it. A lot of the universal mechanics in this game seem to be a lot more useful and less finicky than the previous games, even compared to Mortal Kombat 9. The way I can utilize all of these moves with the characters, it definitely feels a lot more natural, and when I get punished, it definitely does feel like it was because of a mistake that I made. However, continuing from this, there is one thing I don't like about the gameplay, and that's the actual settings for the controls themselves. Now this may sound a little weird, but for some reason, if the game does feel awkward to you, because of course this is a NetherRealms game, there is a setting in the default options menu that shows you how if you want to have the controls set out this way to go on a button delay or on a button release. Now that sort of struck me as a little bit odd. I always felt that it should have been, you know, as soon as you input the move straight away, because that's normally how fighting games work. But for some reason, I guess people just love it feeling awkward. I don't know why. But then again, it is what it is, and I'm happy they have the options there in the first place. So don't let it throw you off too much. Another thing I want to talk about is, of course, the crushing blow. The crushing blow in this game is one of my favorite things about it. Now, while I am a little bit disappointed they had to replace the X-ray system, that was only at first, and seeing how stylized and over the top the fatal blow supers are, I'm actually okay with it being the way it is. Especially with some of the crushing blows in this game, they are really damn cool. Unfortunately, here comes a negative about the crushing blows. While I did just talk positively about them, the one thing that really brasses me off is that the only reference you have for pulling off these crushing blows is these little icons and brief explanations in your character's own move list to figure out these crushing blows. The game does teach you the universal crushing blow, which is the uppercut in the tutorial, but for character specific tutorials, these are left out. And I don't know why that is. I think that might just be because of the variations and how you can swap out moves for the characters, and how some moves have different crushing blow requirements. And that, of course, unfortunately does lead me into another negative. While I do love the gameplay in this Mortal Kombat, the one thing I don't like about it is how it actually handles the variations. Now, custom variations and customizing the names of characters' move lists, that's cool. I love that stuff because you can come up with some pretty wacky and stupid stuff, and that of course I like a lot. Unfortunately, the one thing that's not cool is that while this game did hype up having custom variations and being able to set different moves to your character to make them feel like your own personal way of playing, this unfortunately goes out the window if you want to take the game seriously online or even in offline tournaments. And that is because while some characters do have preset moves or do allow you to customize the moves themselves, if you want to play seriously for tournaments, there are only 2 for every character that you can use. And sometimes these can not be very fun, especially seeing as how some of the characters' more useful moves are locked out of these variations. Now I hope that does get patched in the future, but right now it doesn't seem to affect me too much because my main character is Baraka, and his Marauder variation is of course my favorite for going online, whether it be in tournaments or even just casuals. But other than that, while I do like using the Marauder variation, I still do like using his custom loadout variations, as they do have the flag, which allows him to charge through projectiles. And that unfortunately does lead me into another negative. And that being, of course, moves that were in the beta, more specifically variations, they were completely left out of this game. More specifically is Baraka's Flag Day variation and Scorpion's variation called Boone's Mane. Those were cool and they had some of the best names. Unfortunately, they were left out of the full release, and there is no explanation as to why. And of course, going off the custom variations, I want to talk about the customization itself. Now, the customization, I do love it, and the different skins that you can unlock for the characters are really cool. Especially with some of Baraka's skins, I was actually very fortunate that because he is my main, a lot of his stuff could be unlocked at the beginning of the game. You go into the Towers of Time, and his character tower was actually one of the first you are able to select. Now, I don't know if that works the same for everyone else, but for me personally, it was there right away, and I was very happy about that. I don't know if that's across the board for everyone or if it's just randomized, but I was lucky to unlock all of Baraka's stuff from the beginning. Well, okay, not all his stuff. There are still a few skins I need to unlock, and I haven't unlocked all of his intros and outros, but I did get what I need, basically, from my first couple of days. So I didn't have to grind too much in the crypt. And that, of course, does lead me onto the crypt itself. Now, some people have had their issues with this, and NetherRealm has patched it recently, but I personally did not have a problem with it because I didn't grind in the crypt straight away. I spent my time with the story mode and enjoying Johnny Cage versus Johnny Cage banter. That stuff I liked. Oh, and also Liu Kang and Kung Lao are a treasure. But yeah, personally I do like the crypt because just like the game itself, plenty of references not just to the past games, but also to the Mortal Kombat movie, which of course I did grow up with. But I grew up more from Annihilation than I did the first one. And I kinda like it. Sorry. But yes, so nitpicks on that aside, I don't mind it too much because I didn't work on grinding my way through the crypt and I just hung back and enjoyed it, and I did have a lot of fun. Unfortunately, outside of that, that's really about it. And for some reason, for as good as the tutorial mode is, I do reckon it could have gone a bit more in-depth with the character tutorials. For some reason, it only gives you the bare bones basics, and that's about it. I really wish it went more into the crushing blows for the characters, and I do think they could have done a little bit better with some of the stuff in the customization, because only very minor things can be changed on a few characters that have really cool things, and when in gameplay they are barely noticeable. Again, I hope that gets patched in the future. Online itself also functions rather well. When you get a good connection, you get a good connection. However, this is just for me. I ran into way too many people using Wi-Fi, and while some of the connections were good, others were just plain terrible. And I don't know what it is with that, but at the same time, there are just some people that cannot afford a plug for their internet, and sometimes the way they're stationed, they just cannot get one worked out. So I can't blame them too much for that. And after all, one thing I say to myself, lag is just another obstacle, a fight is still a fight. And a lot of them actually played out well for me, whether it be in tournaments, King of the Hill, or in just regular player matches. I like that a lot. And also, if you couldn't tell already, this game looks bloody beautiful. Now before this came out, I'd say the best looking fighting game before this one, it would have been between Tekken 7 and Dragon Ball FighterZ. But with this game, they really did push their tech to make sure that it looks as good as it does, and holy damn, yep, it definitely does look sweet. I'm actually quite surprised with just how well detailed all of that is. Now of course, with the detail on the characters being the most important, details in other areas also had to be sacrificed. While in past games, when the characters took damage, they took massive damage, like having chunks of skin ripped off their face, or even having their shin bone pop out of their leg. Now on this one, they don't really go as far as getting a couple of scratches on their chest, and having some blood splats on their body. But other than that, it does look good, and hey, I can't really complain because it does look this damn good. Now, how this game is going to show its age in the future, I don't know, but I do hope that it will last, and this will be backwards compatible on PlayStation 5 and hopefully the next Xbox when they come out, so hopefully it should hold up even more from there onwards. And another thing that I do want to talk about with the online, going back to that, is that it is my main place to go to play this game for unlocking stuff, mainly because I don't try to unlock the stuff, but in this match right here, what happened is that after beating this guy, I was able to unlock this particular item right here, which I needed to open the door in Gore's lair. Now those, I don't know how I got the first piece, but I do know that I got the last two by playing online. It seems like online play is the best place to go for when you want to unlock stuff or just grab items. Now that, of course, I don't really mind because I do like playing online. At the same time though, a lot of the stuff that's offline seems to be not as good. Now don't get me wrong, the modes in this game, there is plenty here for you with the story mode and the way you can lab for practicing your moves and crushing blows and all that jazz. And going off that, I have also got the Nintendo Switch version. And the graphical downgrade, while definitely noticeable, If you do want to practice this game while you're outside with the kids, or something like that, the Nintendo Switch version is pretty good. Yeah, I actually played it in my off time if I'm playing another game and it's taking way too long to load. I just pop out the Nintendo Switch version and I just play that one. So yeah, pretty good. I definitely recommend that. If there is one thing I could change about this game overall, I would say it would have to be how you unlock items and your overall earnings of everything when you play the game. I would like it to do what other games do, where when you download a patch or something like that, you also download everything that you need to unlock. That way, if you want to, you can just unlock everything that you can offline. I would have liked it if they had done that before, and hopefully it gets patched that way in the future. But as it is, if you do want to play and unlock everything, you do need to be constantly connected online. Now that's a little bit disappointing, but at the same time though, I'm not too peeved about it because I do like playing this game. So yeah, sure, not really a complaint there, but I do feel I need to point that out because, well, it is an important thing to point out. And yeah, that's basically about me in terms of talking about this game. How do I compare it to the others? It's definitely good. I do like it a lot and I'm gonna keep playing it. Is it better than some of the other Mortal Kombat games? Well, that depends. It's personal preference. I personally think that compared to, say, Mortal Kombat Trilogy or even Mortal Kombat 9, while this game definitely does succeed gameplay-wise, unfortunately some of the other things, they tend to fall a bit short. So you'll have to take that as you will, and pick it up if you want, or put it down. That's stupid. Jeez, I'm an idiot. But anyway, yeah, that's me in terms of talking about this game. I hope it was informative, and if it wasn't, I honestly don't blame you for not understanding anything. But anywho, that'll be me in terms of talking about this game, Whānau. Radio, ka kite.
It's official. You suck.
Shao Kahn wins.